Vietnam. The name conjures images of battlefields, helicopters, and young men at war. Yet hidden within this narrative lies another story. A story of courage, resilience, and sacrifice, often overlooked and untold. This is the story of the women of the Vietnam War. More than 15,000 American women served in Vietnam, primarily as nurses, but also in roles like intelligence, logistics, and administration. They were driven by a sense of duty, a desire to serve their country, and a calling to heal. These women left behind families, careers, and the comforts of home to face a different kind of battleground. They braved not just enemy fire, but also the emotional toll of witnessing unimaginable suffering. They tended to wounded soldiers, comforted the dying, and wrote letters for those who couldn't. They were the beacons of hope in the darkest hours, offering solace and compassion amidst the chaos of war. Their stories are not filled with medals of honor or parades of victory. Their bravery was a quiet strength, their victories measured in lives saved and spirits lifted. These were not soldiers in the traditional sense, but their service was no less courageous, their sacrifices no less profound. This is their story, the story of the unsung heroines of the Vietnam War. The women who went to Vietnam were not driven by glory or fame. They were ordinary women who answered an extraordinary call. Some were driven by a deep sense of patriotism, a belief in their country and its mission. Others felt a moral obligation, a need to ease the suffering they saw on the nightly news. Many were nurses, drawn to the profession's inherent compassion and desire to heal. They saw the wounded soldiers not as enemies or strangers, but as young men in need of care. They saw beyond the uniforms and the politics and into the eyes of fear, pain, and longing for home. There were also women who served in support roles, working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep the war effort running. They decoded messages, managed supplies, and provided crucial administrative support. Though they were not on the front lines, their contributions were no less vital to the war effort. These women came from all walks of life, from big cities and small towns, from different backgrounds and beliefs. But they were united by their courage, their compassion, and their commitment to serving their country in its time of need. They were the unsung heroes of a forgotten war, and their stories deserve to be heard. The Vietnam War was unlike any other conflict in American history. It was a guerrilla war, fought in dense jungles and rice paddies, with no clear front lines and no easy victories. The medical challenges were immense, with casualties arriving at all hours, suffering from horrific wounds and exotic diseases. Amidst this chaos and carnage, the women of the Vietnam War served as angels of mercy. They worked tirelessly, often under fire, to save the lives of wounded soldiers. They endured long hours, limited supplies, and the constant threat of enemy attack, yet their spirit never wavered. They witnessed horrors that would haunt most people for a lifetime. They saw young men die, their dreams cut short by bullets and bombs. They saw the physical and emotional toll that war took on the human spirit. Yet through it all, they remained steadfast, providing comfort, care, and a glimmer of hope in the darkest of times. These women were more than just nurses. They were confidants, sisters and mothers to the wounded soldiers in their care. They wrote letters home, offered words of encouragement, and shared in the pain and fear of those who fought. They were a lifeline to humanity amidst the inhumanity of war, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the strength of the human spirit. While the physical wounds of war may heal, the emotional and psychological scars can linger for a lifetime. The women of the Vietnam War returned home to a nation divided, their service often overlooked and their sacrifices misunderstood. Many carried with them the invisible wounds of war post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, survivor's guilt, and the lingering trauma of their experiences. They had witnessed horrors that most people couldn't even imagine, and they struggled to reconcile those memories with their lives back home. The nation they returned to was in turmoil. The anti-war movement was at its peak, and many Vietnam veterans, both male and female, faced hostility and scorn upon their return. They were often blamed for a war they didn't start, judged for actions they had to take in the line of duty. Unlike their male counterparts, female veterans often found themselves invisible in the narrative of the war. Their experiences were rarely acknowledged, their sacrifices rarely honored. They returned to a society that didn't understand what they had been through, a society that wasn't ready to listen to their stories. The silence surrounding the experiences of female veterans was deafening. Society, still grappling with traditional gender roles, struggled to reconcile the image of a woman as a caregiver with the realities of war. Their stories were often overshadowed by the dominant narrative of the male soldier, their contributions minimized or dismissed. This lack of recognition compounded the challenges these women already faced. They felt isolated, misunderstood, and betrayed by the very nation they had served. The emotional toll was immense, leading to depression, anxiety, and a sense of profound disconnect. Yet, from this shared experience of silence and invisibility, a powerful sisterhood emerged. Female veterans found solace and strength in connecting with one another, sharing their stories and finding common ground in their shared experiences. They formed support groups, wrote memoirs, and began to reclaim their narratives, ensuring that their voices would be heard. This sisterhood became a lifeline for many, offering a space of understanding and acceptance that they couldn't find elsewhere. Through their shared stories of courage, resilience, and healing, they began to challenge the silence and reshape the narrative of the Vietnam War, ensuring that the contributions and sacrifices of women would no longer be forgotten. The fight for recognition and support for female Vietnam veterans was long and arduous. It took decades for the government and the public to fully acknowledge their service and the unique challenges they faced. But these women, true to their resilient spirit, refused to be silenced. They lobbied for better healthcare, access to mental health services, and recognition for their contributions to the war effort. They shared their stories in books, documentaries, and public forums, breaking down stereotypes and challenging the perception of women in the military. Their efforts slowly began to chip away at the wall of indifference. The Vietnam Women's Memorial, dedicated in 1993, stands as a powerful testament to their service and sacrifice. More and more research emerged, shedding light on the long-term health effects of Agent Orange exposure on female veterans and their children. Though the journey was far from over, each step towards recognition and support represented a victory. It was a testament to the unwavering spirit of these women, their refusal to be forgotten, and their commitment to ensuring that future generations of female veterans would receive the honor and respect they deserved. The Vietnam War may have ended in 1975, but for many female veterans, the journey was far from over. They returned home to a changed world, often carrying the weight of their experiences long after the last helicopter left Saigon. Many struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. The trauma of war, the lack of recognition, and the difficulty of readjusting to a society that seemed to have moved on took a heavy toll. They faced challenges in their personal relationships, careers, and mental health. Yet, amidst these struggles, there were also stories of hope, resilience, and triumph. Many female veterans went on to lead successful lives, becoming doctors, nurses, teachers, mothers, and grandmothers. They channeled their experiences into activism, advocacy, and service to their communities. They became pillars of strength for other veterans, offering support, understanding, and a shared bond forged in the crucible of war. They dedicated themselves to ensuring that the lessons of Vietnam were not forgotten, working tirelessly to promote peace, understanding, and healing. The long road home from Vietnam was rarely easy, but these women, with their unwavering spirit and their enduring strength, proved that even in the face of adversity, hope and healing are always possible. As time marches on, it becomes even more crucial to honor the legacy of the women who served in Vietnam. Their stories are not just part of history, they are threads in the fabric of our nation, reminders of the courage, resilience, and sacrifice that define the American spirit. It is our duty to ensure that their contributions are never forgotten, their voices never silenced. We must listen to their stories, learn from their experiences, and honor their sacrifices by working to create a society that values service, supports our veterans, and strives for peace. We must educate future generations about their contributions, ensuring that their legacy of courage and compassion continues to inspire. Let us remember the nurses who tended to the wounded with unwavering dedication, the women who served in support roles, the mothers, daughters and sisters who answered the call to serve their country. Let us honor their service, not just with words, but with actions that reflect our gratitude and respect. The women of the Vietnam War may not have sought recognition or praise, but their stories deserve to be heard, their sacrifices remembered. They are an integral part of the American story, and their legacy of courage, compassion and resilience will continue to inspire generations to come. Let us never forget their service, their sacrifice, and their unwavering spirit.